Less sarcasm, more reviews. I hope every one of y'all had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Other than that, we are in a late review again. November 25th, 2020. In the final couple weeks, we have the calendar year of Dynamite, the full calendar year of AEW Dynamite, and most of it is from a pandemic. That gotta be rough. But other than that, we got a video game announce. Darby Allin's AEW World Champion. Jon Moxley has been the longest reigning AEW World Champion in a year. So nearly a calendar year so far. He's been holding that since February of this year, and yeah, it's been a crazy year of AEW Dynamite. We had Mike Tyson coming on, Eddie Kingston getting main event spots on shows, even on pay-per-view, and Kenya and the Adam Page storyline. That wasn't really that much of a story to begin with. So, announced was Jake Hager and Chris Jericho versus SCU. That's just Christopher Daniels and Kazarian. Phoenix and Pac returning in a tag team action against Butcher and Blade. The women's title being on the line for Mana Jay versus Hikaru Shida. Top Flight against 2HQ after assaulting them against the Young Bucks just a week prior. And then Hangman Adam Page against John Silver was the match opener. I gotta say, oh yeah, Will Hobbs was in action against Lee Johnson. There was to sum up in basic action, we understand it's to build. We also had our contract signing involving Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley, and this is just right after he got assaulted backstage, delaying the contract signing from the last week. I can say with considerable confidence that this is probably going to be a smart fest. We're going to see a lot of flying moves off Kenny Omega, counter into some strongman move, some brawler moves off Moxley. They're going to probably do this in-ring stuff more basic because it is a regular match than an unsanctioned match that we had back at Full Gear last year. And I think it's going to be basic as hell, and Dave Meltzer, that's obviously on payroll, is going to do something about making this better than their Okada matches. Not like I have an issue with the ratings of the matches because I don't rate matches, I rate shows. I don't do that stuff. It's not that deep. A wrestling match shouldn't that be deep unless it's a better story involved with it. So we had Adam Page opening show against John Silver from the Dark Order. And bro, how much of a jobber faction this team got to be? They barely win. Brody Lee is literally the major parts of the storylines, and the biggest thing they had involving somebody that's not Brody Lee was their little feud they had with SU earlier up in the year. And that was before Luke Harper was even released from the WWE. So, this is just whack. This match was obviously of trying to slow down Hangman over joining the Dark Order. We had some decent counter moves into an enziguri, super kick, enziguri, a counter into a brain buster, a move off the apron, buckshot lariat. That's technically it. Other than that, dude, the match ends with Evil Uno trying to consult with Hangman and trying to issue off a proposition to try to join the Dark Order still. And the match was okay. I mean, the coolest thing I saw was a Liger Bomb for a 2. And that was coming from Hangman. And we had Evil Uno trying to talk to Hangman, saying that they're not the enemy, trying to still let them join the Dark Order, even though they don't really have a considerable goal, other than obviously trying to get Brody Lee over, but they don't have their own optional message, and this is just some reason to keep these guys on payroll. Because, like, AEW signed so many guys, they have so many factions and no direction for, like, a primordial part or a selling point for their show. That's my issue with AEW. Next up, we had the powerhouse Will Hobbs, dressed up like Taz against Lee Johnson. Or just their jobber. Lee Johnson's just their jobber. He comes from AEW Dark, and he jobs out to, when he got like manhandled by Lance Archer one time, Chris Jericho. So he kept getting mangled around. He comes around dressing up. They gave Will Hobbs a singlet now. That was crazy. Now he looks like a Black Taz cosplayer. A massive power slam for the win. I think it was a pump handle into a power slam, but whatever. It ends up with Taz giving himself the floor, asking for Will Hobbs to go celebrate backstage or something. And then he comes consulting over, complaining anybody from management why the FTW title doesn't get its just due like every other championship. And he already gives like decent notes. I love most of the promos, and it looks like they're gonna do a program involving him, his probably a bit of his son, because when Cody came out like trying to cut off Taz, trying to be like, oh, is it because of creative differences or some BS, or you're gonna be futured and endeavored or something, like mocking the WWE mantra because Cody has all the power. And it ends with Cody doing a personal job, bringing up why his son doesn't train with him, and he trains with Cody instead. And that's something mighty personal. And it ends with when Cody got his back turned, Taz's mission came out of nowhere. So that was a pretty cool thing. When you see, Taz actually doing something, and it's actually making him more considerably threatening, and it seems like you're going to do something involving him, instead of like Cody targeting the TNT title, and that's basic enough as it gets. Next up, we had, of course, Top Flight against the Hybrid 2. I thought it said 2HT. Oh, okay, so it's Angelico and Jack Evans against Top Flight, and I don't remember their names. They lost to the Young Bucks in their debut on Dynamite, and this was over a post-match assault from the last episode. So here they are. You had some corner uppercuts. I think we had a giant leaping hurricane runner from the top. They kept trying to cheat from the outside, and then 2HQ wins. I guess over submission. Later on, after the post-match assault, the Young Bucks come hitting up the ring for the save, so it looks like they're finally going to give those two an actual feud or something, because they've been just getting like on dark, even though they're part of the official roster, and you would think over like whining over BTE and like trying to get over, even though we don't know most of the characters, except we know what they did, like what Angelico does in Lucha Underground and stuff, and I know a bit of Jack Evans. That's practically it. I only know these guys from Lucha Underground. We also had a promo involving the Revolt, the Revelation, FTR, whatever name they try to bring themselves other than to be a rip-off Brainbusters. Even though one looks like Rick Steiner and the other one looks like a guy you probably punched in the face in the bar. And Scott Norton plus superstar Billy Graham in his prime. That's what Dax Hardwood looks like. And they come around doing like this ain't BTE. This ain't any YouTube stuff. This is real stuff, and this is Fear the Revelation, because there will be. So where does Adam Pearce come into this? Because I know they do the 3 signs for, of course, Tully and the tag team, but where's Adam Pearce? Sean Spears, because of course Tully Blanchard manages him, so you think it would be like a major faction. So they do nothing involving that. Earlier on, we also had like some new segment involving Miro, because he's a buff gamer. He gets angry out of somebody messing up with his games. He gotta do something for it's so sad how like Rusev have fallen. I'm still gonna call him that because that's when he was actually cool. The man smashed his own wife in his anniversary in his own freaking WrestleMania tank. How can you not make that sound cool? And he comes around feuding with these midget jobbers when he was main eventing pay-per-views with John Cena, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. Like, I'm sorry, that's a bit of a downgrade. I don't care if we're getting $250,000. That's like downgrading yourself with feuding with Sting and Hogan to feuding with the Godfather. I'm just saying. So it came with Orange Cassidy taking off his Xbox Series X. Yes, it was on screen. And then they started with best friends jumping Nero and Sabian. So they kept feuding outside until Miro pushed off the camera saying, "Get out of the way!" After we just heard fighting going on over the background. And that's technically the thing, so they're still feuding. Next up, we had SU versus Chris Jericho and Jake Hager in a tag team match. And it was as basic as you can put it. We had decent counters from the top rope. Big arm drags, of course, the springboard leg drop that I think is an underrated move from Kazarian. Hager, most of the spots off Jericho and Christopher Daniels, and then it came off near the finish when it looked like Hager was getting him off the ankle lock. Then there was a strike over with the diamond ring to the face. The finish ends with Hager picking up the pin after the Judas effect. So, yeah, that's practically the finish. Then Kazarian comes around with a right hand on MJF after the victory. And then the issues with Jericho going one-on-one with Kazarian on the biggest night on Dynamite. Kenny Omega versus Moxley. Kenny Omega versus Moxley. So, that's practically how that started off, because he disrespected MJF, he disrespected the Inner Circle. Next up, we all had a contract signing, and we issued off with, after Eddie Kingston talked about the main event involving his former best friend, Penta turning his back and being back with the Death Triangle, and it looks like Moxley was going to, face up with, Eddie Kingston. He's like, "You're messing up my feng shui. You look like an uncle. Come on, man." So, he would think he would be the assailant that assaulted him, because of course he beat him twice for the World Championship, so why not? Moxley comes around early on seeing who would be the assailant. He would, later on, after Kenny Omega tries to make his Wrestling Observer entrance, he's a top 5, and of course he's a Hall of Famer, by esteemed Wrestling Hall of Famers, like how no one cares. That's like the most smarkiest thing I've ever seen. And I don't like bringing up this word, and I try not to be like an anti-smart reviewer. I just want to review pro wrestling. And whenever I see this stuff, it just makes it feel more nerdy. Like, nobody, even like the time when CM Punk was like also like fan of like making casual viewers like his stuff, it wasn't because he was having match of the year with John Cena. It was because he was having a cool story involving being overshadowed, and he was disrespecting Triple H, Stephanie, Vince McMahon, John Cena, and he was looking cool, and the fans were liking him for doing that. Well, why is it so hard? And then he comes around getting assaulted during his entrance by Moxley, and then getting paradigm shift twice. But Moxley thinking that they handled their beef. When you hire somebody to do a hit, you do it right. I know some guys Moxley ends up signing the contract like what Kenny did the last week. So probably there was a hit on Moxley. We're probably going to get a little swerve later come the match they have on Dynamite. An average promo off Moxley. I don't really care who comes out on top. There's already like teasers over Moxley returning to the WWE afterwards, unless you guys haven't heard. That's just my opinion on the matter, folks. It's not that I don't want Moxley to like be a successful top guy and actually make AEW can be, because I gave AEW a lot of chances to actually, redeem themselves and make themselves like a competent wrestling fed that can make themselves maybe an alternative, good, decent product. They don't have to be always like, you need to be $3 million. No, you don't. You at least have to be a reasonable margin that at least certain people know that you exist. And when they keep trying to go up to the Wrestling Observer market to be in this SJW stigma and just make sure that like they continue going for jabs over a company that's actually bigger than them, it's just a silly mistake to do. That's just my opinion on the matter. But other than that, we had Hikaru Shida versus Anna Jay for the AEW Women's Championship. And it was going earlier down the ladder. Anna Jay was getting the upper hand, and I don't know why she was. Ty Conti said, "Oh, we shouldn't cheat. Why did you grab the steel chair to begin with, then?" She went under the apron. She did this on her own accord, but they just did that so it could just show Anna Jay's cheating. You can see the Dark Order, because she's still part of the Dark Order. When she was going from the outside, she was doing the little hand thing. Oh, man. And the match was so forgettable, dude. I can barely remember a spot. There was just rest hold after rest hold, some counter into spots, and then we had Tai Conti trying to get over with the chair spot, the ref taking it away. The dumbest she. Well, no, she hit her with the kendo stick, and John Silver gave Anna Jay a kendo stick. Then, when she got the upper hand, the dumbest she, or some kind of shining wizard, for the victory. So, there it is. Then later on, we saw Abaddon, that seems to have a bit of a stomach, no disrespect. No, I'm just saying that because, dude, there's been a lot of controversy over Anna Jay. Something about, Abaddon, over her weight issues and her way of dealing with criticism, because Al Snow gave a little bit of a critique on her body, and she got super offended, and that's just not the way to go, especially when you have such a look. So I don't know why that offends you. So, yeah, that's practically it. So it looks like Abaddon wants to mark her territory, and because she smeared blood in the championship, it ended up with it seems like the next person aiming for the title will be Abaddon, and then we know Nyla Rose is probably gonna mark her territory after, assaulting her last weekend, but she also helped with the assault on Brandy. So our main event was, of course, Pac and Phoenix versus Butcher and Blade. Man, this women's division is trash. So is the tag division. So we have Pac. So we have the Death Triangle reunion returning against the Butcher and Blade, that are just irrelevant fodder tag teams that are not gonna get the belts. So Eddie Kingston, while on commentary, the match was going decent. We have, of course, the rope spots, standing 450, counters into a lot of super kicks, a lot of top rope moves, man. It just feels a bit weak, in my opinion, bro. And I'm not trying to be as disrespectful. So, not only that, but we have a hot tag in. There was at least some cool moves off the Blade, doing Northern Light suplexes, all that jazz. Eddie Kingston, then it ends with, of course, victory off the Butcher and Blade, because he couldn't hit the Black Arrow on the Blade, and it ends off the victory. Eddie Kingston comes up hitting up with DDTs on steel chairs, DDTs on steel chairs. Then it comes with Lance Archer coming out of nowhere to help out. That was just unexpected. But at least a way to go for the show. That's practically it, man. I mean, I want to be more excited. You have a guy that's like a primordial monster heel. What's his association with the Death Triangle? Or what's his association now turning babyface over failing to target for the main event spot? I guess the only thing that interests me is the Taz and Cody thing. And I guess I'm going to be more interested with Kenny at least finally getting a shot for the world title over all this time. So that's going to be at least an intriguing matchup. But hopefully it actually tells a story. That's all I'm begging for, to at least get some eyes on the show. And Cody already has enough on his plate with teasers of Shaquille O'Neal coming to AEW. So now he's against Team Taz and all that stuff. With, of course, probably something involving the Gun Club. But they also have a tag team. He also tags with Darby Allin next week. So That's going to be at least interesting to see. There's a lot of stuff going into the big Dynamite where Winter is coming with a battle royale, the women's title on the line, the world title. But it's it's not going to be that enduring unless you do something to actually push the needle and you don't make it just pure wrestling. That's just my opinion on the matter, guys. But how you feel about how you feel about Dynamite tonight? It's all on your mind, your choice. That's it coming from me. I hope y'all had a good holiday.